Have you ever wondered what the most popular LEGO themes are and what the most hated items are in those popular themes? Well, I did. So I gathered the 25 most popular LEGO themes and found the one thing in them that people can't stand. From things like weird-looking minifigures in LEGO Star Wars, AI being used in LEGO Ninjago, the electronic Mario figures being basically useless, there's a lot to cover. So let's start with one of the biggest controversies in LEGO history. In early 2004, LEGO replaced their old gray and brown colors with bluish-gray variants that fans nicknamed Blay. This absolutely devastated the Icons theme and adult builders who had been collecting for years, because now their pieces didn't match the ones they'd had for so long. The backlash was so bad that LEGO's community manager Jack McKee posted a public apology on Lugnet in May of 2004. He admitted they hoped the change would go fairly unnoticed, which shows they knew it would be controversial. But at least the Blay color change affected every piece, because the Harry Potter theme has a material problem that's way more specific. Certain minifigures use hair pieces molded from soft, rubbery plastic instead of normal ABS, and Cho Chang is one of the best examples. The material looks dull and feels completely out of place next to regular LEGO pieces. Jay's Brickblog even called them god-awful in his Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts CMF review. So that's how you know it's bad. But speaking of wrong-looking minifigures, Star Wars had a design disaster back in 2012. When LEGO started making sets based on the Clone Wars TV show, they wanted the minifigures to match the show's art style. So they gave certain characters these giant anime eyes, and literally nobody liked them. Padme in the Malevolence set was one of the first to get this treatment, and everyone hated it right out of the gate. There's even a site called BrickElo that has a community rating feature, and the data consistently places these Big Eye Clone Wars figures as the worst rated Star Wars minifigures ever made. I get why LEGO did it, but one of the most controversial decisions they've ever made was launching the Friends mini doll in 2012. Instead of using regular minifigures for the theme, LEGO made an entirely new type of figure, and the backlash was huge. There were entire petitions against it on a website called change.org. People wrote academic papers calling out the gender stereotyping, and there are debates between AFOLs that are still going on to this day. But they don't just look bad. Mini dolls are incompatible with regular minifigure accessories. They have completely different proportions, so they don't even work with regular LEGO. But this figure somehow gets even worse in the Disney princess theme. These mini dolls have giant skirt pieces over their legs, which makes it impossible for them to move. At least the regular Friends figs can move their legs. I mean, this is just insane. But now, let me show you something that's been frustrating Marvel fans for years. LEGO consistently makes Marvel minifigures without leg printing that clearly exists in what they're made after. Black Widow's suit has details on the legs in the movies, but LEGO doesn't print them. Captain Marvel's costume has leg details, but again, LEGO skips them. There are a bunch of minifigures where leg detail exists in the actual costume, but LEGO leaves it blank to save money. But at least Marvel sets use actual minifigures, because the earliest DC superheroes wave from 2012 to 2013 had figures like Batman, Green Lantern, and the Joker instead of actual minifigures. BrickRanker's article on the worst LEGO sets ever calls them giant-sized monstrosities, and they're definitely right. Clearly, bigger isn't always better, and a theme with a similar problem is Jurassic World, which has some of the worst price per piece ratios in all of LEGO. Why? Because some of the sets have these giant single molded dinosaur bodies instead of brick built ones. Brick Fanatics did some digging and found that every single Jurassic World set with these pieces has a worse price per piece ratio than ones without them. The T-Rex dinosaur breakout set is about 32 cents per piece, which is insanely high. The community is always debating on whether LEGO made the right choice or not with these giant dinosaur bodies. But Jurassic World isn't even the only theme with this problem. The Dreams theme has the exact same issue. The mascot, Z-Blob, is a giant pre-molded rubbery blob and is in a ton of different sets. Like the Jurassic World dinosaur, this single molded piece makes the price of any set it's in way higher, takes away the fun of building with bricks, and has basically zero use outside of the Dreams theme. But this next theme has a different problem. The City 4+ sub-theme has been taking away everything that makes LEGO interesting. Instead of using normal bricks, these sets use big pieces that snap together with almost no actual building. Brick Fanatics always uses the term juniorize in negative reviews, calling out how these oversimplified builds hurt the City theme's reputation. And just like City, the classic theme has been taken over by the same juniorization problem. The modern classic 4+ line fills sets with big eyepieces, giant single molded cars, and insanely simplified builds, which is the complete opposite of what classic is supposed to be about. Obviously, 4-year-olds need their LEGO sets to be way more simple than what adults build. But people think LEGO should have just made them their own theme instead of throwing the sets into City and Classic. It completely defeats the purpose of the next theme, Duplo, because if this theme exists, then why do these other themes need sets for 4-year-olds in the first place? This is probably the nerdiest complaint in this video, but the truth is, people don't have any real problems with City or Classic, so this is the biggest one. But one of the worst problems people have with certain themes is how some of them need technology just to be able to work. The entire Super Mario theme is built around interactive electronic figures that react to different things using Bluetooth and an app. Mario, Luigi, and Peach all need this app to function properly. Without it, they're just expensive decorations. LEGO eventually made paper instructions because of how mad everyone was, but the figures still need firmware updates, which you can only get from the app. The community's biggest fear is that when LEGO discontinues the app in 10 or 15 years, all of this expensive stuff will be worthless. This has happened to so many different themes in the past, so nothing's stopping it from happening to Mario too. But even a classic theme like Technic has the exact same problem now. In 2020, LEGO killed the beloved power function system and replaced it with Control Plus/Powered Up, which only works with an app. Power functions was simple. Plug a motor in, flick a switch, and it works. No app, no phone, no Bluetooth connection required. But Control Plus needs all of these things. Flagship sets like the Liber LR13000 are fully dependent on this app, which means when LEGO eventually takes it off the App Store, these expensive sets won't work anymore. But at least those apps were made by actual people. In 2024, LEGO was caught using AI-generated images for an official Ninjago quiz on their website. The community immediately noticed something was wrong. Distorted minifigure hands, wrong character colors, lore inaccuracies that no actual Ninjago fan would get wrong, and the most obvious thing, the art style. The worst part though is that LEGO using AI is super hypocritical. They market themselves as a creativity brand. Their whole thing is to encourage imagination and creation, but then they use AI to cut corners on one of the most popular themes of this generation. But now, let me tell you about an update to a theme that made every new set incompatible with its old ones. In 2020, Speed Champions cars jumped from 6 wide to 8 wide, which broke backwards compatibility with every single set before that year. Cars from different eras don't look normal next to each other anymore, and they don't fit on LEGO City roads or road plates either. The community split hard on this. Some people were happy about the change, while others hated the fact that their collection didn't match anymore. But speaking of scale problems, the Green Hill Zone set from the Sonic theme is super hated for being the wrong scale. The Sonic minifigure is too big to fit naturally with other minifigures, or anything outside of the Sonic theme. If you put him anywhere else, he just doesn't look right. The community also hates that the Sonic theme barely gets any sets to begin with, but what they might not realize is that the theme just got retired this year. which will definitely end up being their biggest problem. But at least the Sonic theme had some diversity, because BrickHeadz uses the same formula for every single set. After building a few, it gets super repetitive, and every character looks exactly the same. This is one of those themes that you either love or hate because of how repetitive it is. But to be honest, most people hate it. Repetition is also the main complaint with the Architecture Skylines sub-theme. Skylines launched in 2016 and replaced big detailed sets with tiny ones. The original architecture theme had super detailed builds, like the Guggenheim and Falling Water sets, which required real building techniques. But Skylines are basically just small versions of the same thing over and over. Honestly, I like a lot of the Skyline sets, but I can see why people are so mad. I mean, they replaced some really cool sets. But if you want the most mind-numbing, repetitive building experience, LEGO art sets are basically just display pieces built with thousands of 1x1 tiles. So they're literally perfect for this. BrickSet's launch article points out the bad price per piece ratio, saying given the sets are almost exclusively 1x1 round tiles, the PPP is actually quite high. But BrickNerd points out the biggest problem, that the original art sets were purely mosaic depictions, with almost no real building. And that's definitely the biggest issue. But now, let's talk about one of the worst reviewed LEGO sets ever, which is in the Ideas theme. The winning set for the We Love Sports Ideas contest was supposed to be a full-size 11x11 foosball table, but the official set that LEGO released was scaled down to a tiny 5x5 table instead, which is less than half the original size. Why? Because LEGO couldn't make long, durable axle rods for the full-size version. At launch, it had 5 1-star reviews out of 9 total reviews on LEGO.com, and Brick Fanatics made a dedicated article asking if table football was one of the worst idea sets ever made. People were so mad that LEGO promised one thing, couldn't deliver it, and then charged $250 for the downgraded version. But speaking of broken promises, Creator 3-in-1 sets are supposed to give you 3 great builds, but the second and third builds are almost always way worse than the main one. Rebrickable's review of the pirate ship set calls the alternates not really bad, but just not good enough compared to the ship. And Brothers Brick's T-Rex review points out that the Triceratops alternate has gigantic legs, saying those giant rear limbs do support the Triceratops standing up on its hind legs and shaking it like it's 1999. This is the most consistent documented problem across the entire theme. You buy the set for 3 builds, but you really only get 1 good one. But one thing fans can't get over in the Botanicals theme is that most of the sets don't come with vases. Almost every flower set, like the flower bouquet, the wildflower bouquet, and the dried flower centerpiece, is made to be displayed in a vase, but there's no vase included in any of them. Multiple BrickSet and Brothers Brick reviews call this out directly. The wildflower bouquet has comments like, "I do wish it had a vase included. My current one is getting full." And again, stuff the flowers. I need that vase. So clearly, people really need more of these. But at least you can buy Botanicals sets whenever you want. The BrickLink Designer Program theme asks fans to pre-fund sets with crowdfunding. This means popular fan-designed sets need money up front months before they're done, sell out before most people can buy one, and then have insane resale prices once they're gone. The theme was made to give fan-made sets a chance outside of the Ideas theme, but it turned into a scalper's dream, which is never a good sign. And speaking of availability problems, the Monkie Kid theme has had this exact issue specifically in the US since 2020. A bunch of sets are only available in China, and prices are super high on the aftermarket. So American fans who want sets usually completely miss out. The sets themselves are actually really well made and get good reviews all the time, but the way LEGO releases them makes them almost impossible to get in America. This is one of the only themes in modern day LEGO with this problem, and honestly, it's one of the easiest ones to fix if LEGO just listens to the people. But what hated item surprised you the most in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.